Hello and welcome to the show. We start this week's Failrace episode with Lols on a GTA 5 with a heavily damaged plane. It's gonna go down at some point, decides to bail out of it onto a bridge. It bounces off, initially surviving the first impact. Now the engine's dead and it's heading down towards a boat. Bails actually out of the aircraft between said boat and the pier. That's a tiny gap. It's a tiny gap to have got through, but well done for surviving that. Mustang Bugatti on GTA 5 has been, well, messing around with a homing rocket launcher. As you can see, there is bits of debris of plane around on the road. The AI prii can't decide which way to go. Swerves around the outside of it before managing to hit the one solid bit that could cause him trouble, ending up upside down. Well done. Well done indeed. Speaking of prees, nice groundhog on GTA 5 has got the ramp truck and spots an unsuspecting prii to go and send flying. Sure enough, it's a good crash, it's a good roll. He's too busy admiring said crash though to notice the big old signpost, and the prii will have its revenge. Yes, the giant ramp truck has been defeated by some rocks. He tries his best to recover it, but the issue with this vehicle, of course, not the most powerful. It's got a decent amount of power, it is very heavy. It can't kind of launch itself free of the rocks, and because of the relatively low ground clearance, it is very, very beached. Yep, that is a ramp truck being defeated mostly by a tree. Adamant Agron, also on GTA 5, is going to explode a Titan. Sure enough, avoids all of the armies, throws the sticky bomb on the back, and the Titan is in trouble. It continues to be in trouble the whole way. It manages to somehow defy physics and roll its way over at an incredibly low altitude and incredibly low speed before then finally exploding. That's a hell of a death for the giant cargo plane. Warrior Oni on Forza Motorsport 7 starting a race at Spa with his Ford being in the crash barrier. Now we saw the AI having issues with an Isetta, trying to get that with a rolling start. This time trying to get a Ford GT around the final corner. It didn't quite work out. Yami here 682 also on Forza 7 is sorting out the parts on his Formula E car when one of the driver tars decides to nick it. Yet, just minding your own business in the pit lane. Along comes a fellow competitor's car and continues to push. And this goes on for quite some time. He continues to push the player's car down the pit. Actually goes into the next pit booth before it all glitches out and eventually resets with the player's car now stuck on top of one of the Jaguar vehicles. I don't think that's quite how pit lanes are supposed to work, but there we go. Tox McNebula on Forza Motorsport 7, or playing a game of tag using the big old limo. Doesn't quite get the car that he is after, and having pinged off the collision, the limo is now stuck kind of resting against the container with none of the wheels touching the floor, very nearly getting wedged up here. It continues to rock. It does eventually roll itself back onto its wheel. That would have been a very, very amusing way to be wedged. Derptron on the crew has managed to get his Mercedes stuck in the crash barrier. That's nothing new on this game per se, but being able to accelerate it down the road, that's different. Got up to 100 kilometers an hour at one point down here. That's, yeah, very peculiar. Keeps going until eventually hits something very solid, and that is the Mercedes completely and utterly stuck. On to a Car Mechanic Simulator 2018 with the replica Clio V6. Everything is going alright through the slalom test. However, the suspension test, it doesn't go quite to plan. Goes across the initial ones okay before bouncing, rolling off of the crash barrier, tumbling and tumbling and tumbling a little bit more. I don't know if it passes the suspension test. It definitely passes the roll test, though. Christy 9 on Need for Speed Underground 2, coming right up towards the finish line when a cheating AI catapults himself forward and wins by just a couple of tenths of a second. We've seen AIs on Need for Speed Underground being fired around, but that is the biggest cheat I think they have done so far. K-Pool on Mafia 3 has got a very Failrace approved car. I very much like the livery on this one. Is kind of having a bit of a mess around, goes for a jump. Now, this is all very well and good, however, bounces off of I think it's a telephone pole, off of a tree, gets stuck on its side, and then gradually and slowly skids its way into the lake. And normally, that would be that. It was a fairly entertaining crash. However, said car is apparently magical. Having got stuck at the bottom of the lake, you can now get out and be stuck underneath the world. Who knew? Who knew black and orange cars, not only do they excel at rolling, they also excel at breaking all of reality. Mustang Ivor on a TrackMania Turbo gets things a little bit wrong. Initially manages to recover that all, but it's slightly twisting as he leaves a jump that gets the car into trouble. It's almost an incredible recovery until going backwards across a boost pad fires him straight off of the circuit. Yeah, boost pads dangerous. Certainly when you're going backwards and have little control over your vehicle. So close to managing to recover all of that, but not quite. And finally, we have that Mudkip on World of Tanks with a game mode that I don't recognise, but he's trying to stop this giant enemy vehicle. His best idea is to sit in front of it and block it from moving. It kind of works for a little while. The problem is the enemy tank is, well, more powerful than he is. They're not really doing much in the way of damage to him, but he isn't able to stop it from moving, and said tank continues to push the player's vehicle out of the way, up a wall, unfortunately not quite able to tip the player vehicle all the way over. I mean, that's certainly that's certainly one way of doing things. Eventually, the player's tank does find some traction and gets dropped down before the enemy vehicle is very much exploded. But yeah, that's a new tactic. That's a very new tactic when it comes to tanks. Almost very effective. That, though, is going to be it for this episode. As ever, if you have clips you'd like to submit to the series, you can via our forums. There will be a link in the description. At the very top of the page is the Failrace clip submission section, and in there you can find all of the rules and how to submit them. However, that's going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.